From Jefferson Park, a public course in the heart of Seattle, to the World Golf Hall of Fame, this has been one incredible worldwide journey for the son of Tom and Violet Couples. Let me begin with the name Couples. May strike you as a surname you've never heard before, and that's because it is unique. His dad, son of Italian immigrants, changed the name from Coppola to Couples. I'm sure Mr. C could never have imagined that one day his youngest boy would make a name for himself, a name that would have meaning around the world. Tonight we are minutes away from inducting the coolest, most casual, and clearly one of the most gifted players the game has ever known. I first got to know him in the fall of 1977 when we were both incoming freshmen for Coach Dave Williams' University of Houston golf team. The coach was a big believer in positive thinking, dreaming big. He asked each freshman to stand, state their name, their hometown, and their goal in life. I had gone first and cavalierly mentioned my goal was to one day host the Masters on CBS. A minute later, this bashful kid stood and timidly announced, "I'm Fred Couples, I'm from Seattle, Washington, and one day I want to win the Masters." It's been no surprise watching Fred attain all of his success and popularity. It was that way in college. The cool thing is, he has never tried to be cool. It's always just been Fred being Fred. And no matter where he has played in the world, fans have followed and flocked. He has hit some of the most spectacular shots. Everything from acing the 17th at Sawgrass.
Watch out for that one, Dean. Looky here, looky here.
To holding the winning shots to clinch the first two President's Cups.
For the win, and the American team in celebration.
His career has been a full one. The first American to ever be ranked #1 in the world. 15 wins on tour, including the '92 Masters. 2 Players' Championships. The first one coming at the age of 24.
If you've never seen this golf course, you'll never know how good that was.
5 Ryder Cups, 4 President's Cups as a player. And most recently, 2 stints as the winning President's Cup captain, with another chance to lead the American team this fall at Muirfield Village. All of this accomplished by a self-taught player who couldn't afford a glove as a young boy, so he's played his entire career barehanded. He once said, "We weren't wealthy, but in the summer, my parents used to give me $5 a day for 90 days. That was a lot of money for them. It was $3.50 to play golf, and they let me play all the golf I wanted. Plus, I'd have $1.50 left over for a hamburger and a Coke." His first huge win was winning the Washington State Open as an amateur at the age of 18, shooting 65 in the final round, beating Don Bees. His childhood buddy, John Bracken, remembers mostly how Fred won it while playing in tennis shoes. He never had a formal golf lesson until he teamed up with his Houston teammate Paul Marchand, a relationship that is close to this day. Says Paul, he has the least amount of ego for a great athlete, maybe ever, in proportion to his talent level. I can't help but think of his late mother and father on this special occasion. After brother Tom Jr., Tommy, and sister Cindy, the parents realized that young Fred was a golf prodigy. His dad worked for the city of Seattle in their Parks and Recreation Department. His mom took on a secretarial job at Boeing Credit Union so that their gifted son had the expenses to compete in some of our nation's most important amateur events, to give their boy a chance to achieve the childhood dream to one day win the Masters. April the 12th, 1992, that day arrived. He beat Ray Floyd, one of his tour mentors, down the stretch and became one of the most beloved major champions the game will ever know. The cool part of it was the green jacket ceremony, the one we used to rehearse back in our dorm room at Houston. Well, this time we were in Butler Cabin. We weren't play acting anymore. It was happening for real. And this time the world was watching. So now, on behalf of family and friends and fans all over the world, many of whom have their fingerprints on Fred's amazing odyssey, it is an absolute thrill to see him immortalized with this, golf's highest honor.
Never underestimate the power of a dream. We would sit in our dorm room and we would play act, the Butler cabin ceremony. I figured it was good for both of us. Both could learn something. Blaine McAllister was right there, participating with us too. The one thing I guess we screwed up, we never rehearsed the World Golf Hall of Fame induction speech. So ladies and gentlemen, it's one of the greatest honors of my life to turn the stage over to World Golf Hall of Famer, Fred Couples.
All right. Woo! Hello, friends. That's what I got out of 1978 in the dorm room with Jimmy. He used that line then, and he's still using it. But I do have a lot of friends out here tonight. It's been a remarkable weekend, and I'll get to them a little later. But there's a big question. How did I get here? From Seattle, Washington. I caddied for a friend of my brother's, Steve Dallas, and by caddying for him, he gave me a set of clubs. And when I say caddy, let me rephrase that. I pushed his, as Monty would say, I pushed his trolley. I didn't carry his clubs. I was 9 years old. I didn't even know what I was doing. We were baseball people. My brother was a baseball player. My father was a baseball player. And at 9, you know, I didn't know what I was going to be, but I knew it wasn't a caddy. But he did give me, I must say, a plastic. Well, there was a little canvas bag. I'm sure I'm not the only one in the world that got one of these from some supermarket. But it was a plastic driver, a 5, 7, and 9, and a putter. And I fell in love with the game. I went up to Jefferson Park and played every day. And my sister, I mentioned my brother, my sister's here, and I'm not really going to throw her under the bus, but I'm going to say that when we were growing up, she's 2 years older. No, this is I can throw her under the bus, but I won't. That there was a little bit of friction in what little Freddie got and what Cindy got. And so I was the spoiled one in the family because I'm sure everyone here got allowance when they were young. And I got an allowance. I got $5 a day, 35 bucks a week. She got, I think, $8 a week. But all mine was spent at Jefferson. And with that $5 every day when I left, I would put my hand out like this to my mom, and she'd slap a little 5 spot. I got on my bike, drove to Jefferson, slapped it around, had a burger, and then went home. And then at the age of 14, I was lucky enough to get involved, to be able to go to a clinic at a course up in Seattle that an unbelievable PGA Tour player was playing at, or doing the clinic, and I got up front and I was staring at him, and after a couple hours when I went back, I wasn't really the person who said, that's what I want to do, I'm going to be a PGA Tour player, but I knew I wanted to really, really get involved in golf. And the gentleman's name was Lee Trevino, who has been a mentor and someone I love. But getting... you know, but getting through that, I then went to O'Day High School, which is an all-boys school, which was awesome for me. I couldn't get in a whole lot of trouble. And as a senior there, I will get through this speech, but as a senior there, I was I almost said drafted, but I got calls from Coach Williams at the University of Houston. And I chose U of H one August day. I flew into Houston. Coach picked me up and gave me a ride back to the athletic department, where the first three guys I met were Jim Nantz is down there, Blaine McAllister over here, five-time winner on the PGA Tour, and my roommate for 3 years, John Horn. And I can tell you this much, we absolutely had a ball. And it is true. Blaine and I will tell you, I don't know if we got sick of it, Blaine, but every night he'd come home from something that we were jealous about, whether he had an interview with Muhammad Ali or whether he interviewed Big Elvin Hayes or Nolan Ryan, but he came back and then he played these. And we went over this a bunch, and mine was the Masters, and I think he talked about that, but that was truly remarkable, and it's my greatest win ever, and I want to thank Jimmy for all his help over the years. And then, obviously, I turned pro. I went to school 3 years, and I'm going to say thank you to a couple people in here, because I've had the greatest playground for 33 years, and that's been the PGA Tour. And my two commissioners have been, obviously, Dean Beeman and then Tim Fincham. And going further with Tim, he did mention, which was obviously, I think, a great choice a few years back, to get me to be the President's Cup captain. And I will tell you the reason why. A lot of people in this room, I have a lot of friends over here, that it is true that I've actually had them call several times to leave me a wake-up call for my tee times, because as you know now, if you miss your Pro-Am tee time, you're withdrawing from the tournament. I think these are great rules, but I couldn't put myself together, let alone have Tim give me the opportunity to run the President's Cup for 12 guys, which I love doing. And after Harding Park, one of the guys came up to me, Phil Mickelson, and he looked at me, and he didn't congratulate me, didn't say anything. He goes, "Dude, I got to tell you, I didn't think you had it in you, but you did a hell of a job." And so, and I know Phil was going to be here tonight, but that is as true as it gets. And then while on tour, I have had several great things happen, and I'll go back to after 5 years later, when I mentioned Lee Trevino, I qualified in Seattle for the U.S. Open at Inverary in Ohio. And I made the cut as an 18-year-old, and I was paired Saturday with Lee Trevino. And probably wouldn't cry on the tee, but is as nervous there as I was right now. And so we get to the tee, and it's a hell of a hole. It's no 3-wood, but I knew I couldn't tee my ball up, so I just grabbed the ball, I dropped it on the tee, and I didn't even tee it up because I knew I would be too nervous to even do it. So that's how I think when I got on tour that Lee Trevino always calls me, "Cupcakes, cupcakes, what the hell are you doing?" And he is, he's a Hall of Famer, but he's an unbelievable real buddy of mine, even though he's much older, much better, much everything, but he's truly amazing. And then a couple other mentors that I had that I think we all know. Ray Floyd was a Ryder Cup captain in Europe, and I was on his team, and we lost, which was not unusual, but we did lose. And after that, I kind of asked him a lot of things, and he taught me a couple things how to be a better player. And after realizing that, there was another guy on the team, Tom Watson, who, you know, you look up to these people, but you play with them, and you just can't imagine how good they are. And I know Monty's the same with a lot of people. I'm the same. You look at people. So I asked Tom Watson a long time ago, on an off week, can I go stay with you at your house and learn a little bit? He says, "Sure, come on." So sure enough, I fly into Kansas City. I'm thinking, you know, we're going to hit balls for 5 hours a day for 5 days. I'm going to ask him, you know, how he makes all these putts. First day, we made bullets for rifles. The second day, we fished, which I don't even know how to fish. The third day, we shot skeet. I never hit a clay pigeon, nor a bird, nor a rabbit, or anything. And so the last day, we're in his garage, and I didn't really need to pack my bag because I never unpacked my clubs, but I found a 3-wood, which was a lady's driver, in his garage. And I'm looking at this thing, and I said, "Can I take this?" He goes, "Yeah, it's Linda's. Go ahead and have it." And It's not bad. It's not a bad thing. But I took this thing, and I played in a lot of President's Cups with it. I played in a lot of Ryder Cups with it. And in about an hour, or whenever I finish this, you will see it in my trophy case next door. It's the 3-wood that I used for several years, which was like a mini driver. But that maybe was better than getting 5 hours of practice that I got this driver, which I used for a 3-wood. And getting off of guys that were mentors, I had a ton of contemporaries. One is in this room and I've grown up with, who also, I want to get this right, we tied, I think, John Cook and I as amateurs at Inverary that year. He's here tonight. I have friends, Mike Donald, who I grew up playing the tour with. We all know Mike. He had an unbelievable chance to win a U.S. Open in Chicago, and Hale Irwin made some 75-footer in the last green to beat Mike. But those were two guys that I played a lot of golf with. And there's certainly many more. You know, Jay Haas was my assistant the last 2 years, and now this year with the President's Cup. And then you get down to, as I said, Phil, who I call a great friend, but great friends kind of don't make putts in the 2006 Masters on top of you all the time. Otherwise, I would call him even a better friend, because I'd have 2 Masters trophies in that case that we're going to go see here in a little while. And to finish it, I thought Davis Love was going to be here, but he couldn't make it. I guess they're all in an outing somewhere, doing what they do best, playing golf. But I'm sure shortly, in the near future, I'll be here watching Davis be elected in the Hall of Fame. And then finally, yes, he's well-deserved. And then finally, I've had incredible teachers. Jimmy, I was really self-taught, but teachers that watched me play. In Seattle would be the Steve Dallas, who gave me my clubs. And then obviously another guy after him was Steve Cole, who really, they just gave me little tidbits. And then when I got onto the PGA Tour, the late, great Dick Harmon, I started to work with Dick. And Paul Marchand, who is a U of H teammate, was assistant pro there. And then Dick turned the reins over to Paul, and Paul and I ran for, I want to say, over 20 years together. He taught me. And then I took a little sabbatical and went to work with Butch Harmon. And then, if you haven't seen, but last couple weeks ago, Paul and I were at Augusta fighting it out, trying to figure out my swing. And if Paul will have me, I'll have Paul the rest of my life as my teacher, as long as I can play. So, Paul, thank you. And then to finish it off, Paul has watched me hit a lot of balls, but these guys have walked with me when I hit a lot of balls. And the one TPC where I had the red Houston pants on, that was Lynn Strickler, caddying for me, who's here. And then Joey LaCava, who was with me for over 20 years. And I can tell you, yes. And for people, you know, who wonder, what do we do in 4 or 5 hours on the course? I can tell you, I don't stay focused, but I do a lot of talking and a lot of complaining and a lot of brunts of jokes. But Joey was awesome. And then to finish up, the last couple of years, I've had Casey Kerr, and all 3 of those guys are here with me tonight, and I really appreciate it. So we'll end up with the caddies. So we're hitting all the spots, and then obviously I have a ton of family and friends here that have made this trip. I mentioned my brother Tommy, my sister Cindy. If the rest would stand up and just wave to me, because there's too many to start naming it. You're not. The Preacher Man. And then my manager all my life, Lynn Roach, and his wife Tammy are here. I want to thank you for all your support. And my girlfriend Nadine, who is becoming a golf junkie. She knows more about sports than I'll ever know, which is saying a lot with Joey and I, what we talk about. But Nadine, you're awesome, and I appreciate all your support. And then to finish, just to thank the Hall of Fame for all they've done for Monty, myself, Mr. Schofield, Willie Park, who I don't know, but You did a lot for him and Mr. Venturi, who we're all going to talk about him tonight, but one of the lucky things you get to do is when you know a guy like Jim Nantz, you get to do things, and I went to several dinners at golf tournaments with the CBS staff, and Kenny Venturi was there for 10 years of it. I got to go, and I miss him a lot, but I know Jimmy knew something was going on when he would get me these dinners and the stories, and Davis Love was part of these too, and the stories that Kenny would tell. You'd wake up the next day, this would be on a Friday or Saturday, and you'd just be so jacked up to play golf tournaments, and Kenny called, CBS actually called a lot of my wins, and Jimmy Nantz was part of them. So I want to thank CBS, Jimmy Nantz, Kim Venturi for all the support you've ever given me. And then I'm going to finish with this. I'm going to read it because I was told to finish with a bang. So I want to say, I should know this because it's not really that long, but thanks for taking a kid from Seattle and putting him into the Hall of Fame. This is the coolest night of my life.